Hey, shalom. Welcome back to Hebrew Literacy. Here we are with our directed Hebrew immersion in the Chetuvim. Today we will be working through from the book of Qoheleth, that's Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verses 14 to 15. And here we have a background image that conveys a bit of the topic of today's verse. All right. Let's say a real quick prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, כן יהי רצון, כי תמלא את פי בדבריך, אדוני. כי אני יכול לדבר רק את הרוצה. תשלח נא את רוחך עלינו ביום הזה, כי אנחנו רוצים לראות את פניך. תעזר נא את כל תלמידי לעשות לקח טוב בעיניך. בכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברך לך בזכות ישועה המשיח. Okay, so here we go. Let's continue with our walk through Qoheleth. Okay, here we are, verse 15. Oh, wait, let me make sure. 14. Oops, almost started skipping a verse. Okay, some PowerPoint issues. Good, we're recording. Yay, it's so much better fixing it when it's not live. All right, verse 14. Hechakham, einaiv, בראשו. hechakham, einaiv, בראשו. All right, so the first thing we have is the definite article, hey, and you may notice it's pointed a little bit differently than it commonly is. We have a segol on the bottom. See here? Usually we expect ha, patak, and a dagash, but here we have a segol. And what is happening is when the word starts with a cheit, maybe I'll draw this over here since it's kind of a rule. When your word starts with a cheit, and the vowel is a comet, it's the capital T looking thing, and we want to attach the definite article, well, we point it with a segol. And that's exactly what's happening here. We have a cheit, there's a comets under it, so segor. There's a similar rule that happens if you have an ayin. The word starts with an ayin, and it has a comet. But in the case of the ayin, it's a bit more complicated. If the accent on the word is somewhere else, right, like at the end of the word, then we also point the hey with a segol. When we talk about pointing, we just mean adding the vowel points. Of course, it won't be up inside of the hey like I did there. I just was running out of real estate. So when you have an ayin with a comet and it's unaccented, for example, the word afar, afar, dust. The accent's over here. Afar. So we point it. Hey afar, the dust. Afar ברוח. אנחנו רק עפר ברוח. I don't think that's copyright violation if I'm whistling, is it? So in that case, we have the accent is not on the ayin, it's on the fa part. So he'afal. But on a word that has a chet, it doesn't matter if the accent is on it or not. Here it's not anyway. This is the accent over here, right here. So, hechakham, the wise man, the wise person. Regarding the wise person, einaiv. So, ayin is I. And it's kind of nice to remember that if you know Paleo Hebrew, in other words, Phoenician, the ayin was basically like a circle, which is an I, changed over time. But so the way to draw the letter that makes the ayin sound was a picture of an eye, basically. So anyway, einayim are eyes. Drop the mem, and we have a construct state. Hence the blue box here. Einay, eyes of Ive, the eyes of Ive. Him or his. So his eyes. His eyes. So regarding hechakham, einaiv, his eyes are be in rosh. Again, it's construct. See, we have the blue run. The head of the head of him or his head. Yeah, that's a good size, I think, for note takers or those of you on cell phones. Hechakham, einaiv berosho, einaiv berosho. And I'll go ahead and mark that inseparable preposition bait. His eyes are in the rosh, the head of him, in the head of him, but in English it sounds better just to say his head. Okay, continuing. The hakhsil, the hakhsil, the but ha the hey and the and the dagesh. That's all part of ancient hal. The kasil, kasil. That means a fool. The fool. The dummy. With true to biblical Hebrew parallelism form, we have over here the wise man, and now in parallelism, the opposite of a wise man, however you would like to call that, the kasil, the idiot, the hakhsil. But the fool, bachoshekh, holeikh, bachoshekh, ba, in the. So just like we have the here as a ha, the is still left over here. It left its footprint. See the red outline? That's showing you it used to be the. So be in the bachoshekh. Why is it just a patach? Well, when the cheit is pointed with anything other than a comet, we just put a patach here. Just part of how you spell it. So what is choshech? Choshech is darkness. Darkness. The fool, but the fool, the hakhsil, bachoshekh, in the darkness. Holech, holech. Now this is an active participle. So let me just, hold on, let me do something. Just lighting up our Patreon banner on the bottom if you'd like to contribute. The participle for the call, binyan, follows a basic pattern. So I'm just going to write X, X, X. These represent consonants, okay? And then the pattern for the vowels is cholim, that's an O sound, and then tzere. Okay? So what that means is if we take our consonants, like we have here, we take hey, we take lamed, and we take kaf, and then we apply the pattern for the active participle. You don't have to know this stuff. It's only for those of you who dig grammar, okay? So you can feel free to filter out what you don't want to know. Participle, I think that's how you spell it. My English spelling is terrible, so have mercy and judgment. Participle, it looks right. Is it participle or participle? We shall see. So let's apply now these vowels to the pattern. Okay. The active participle for the call binyan. So if you add the O here and the tzere, here we have it. Holeikh. Holeikh means going or walking. In modern Hebrew, that's the present tense form of the verb, but it doesn't mean that in biblical Hebrew. Haksil, but the fool, bachoshekh, in the choshech, darkness, holeikh, walks. So all together, hechakham, einaiv, berashou, the wise man, his eyes are in his head, like meaning he sees what's going on in front of him. Haksil, but the fool, bachoshekh holech, in the darkness walks. Any comments or questions? I'll just take a quick drink here. Let you guys process. I know it's pre-recorded, but I don't want to pause in case there are questions. Okay. All right, moving right along. וידעתי, וידעתי. So the verb is yada. Yod, dalet, ayin. Yada is to know. This was one of our 60-second Hebrew vocabulary words on the channel. If you haven't seen those, make sure to check out my shorts. I have around 180 or so of the most common biblical Hebrew words, and each one you can learn in 60 seconds. Usually I teach it with sign language, American Sign Language, and there's a verse incorporating the word in its usage, so you can learn as much as you want with that. So yada is to know, and then t at the end. When we have a perfect verb, we put a t on the end to mean I. I. So yadati means I knew. But with verbs of knowledge, even if it's perfect, i.e., like in English past tense, it still carries through into the present. I think the assumption is if you once knew, you still know now, right? So considering no Alzheimer's, anything like that, lo aleinu. And of course, we have our vav here. And maybe I shouldn't have colored him with the neon because in this case, it doesn't really make sense to. It's not going to be a vav conversive here. Let's make him this color. If you really want to know what this is a vav adversative. Don't worry about it. It means like, but I know. Vyadati, but I know. Gam. Gam means also. Ani, I. But I know also I. Now, what happens when we have a pronoun that we don't need? What I mean is ani. Ani means I. But T also means I. So literally, Vyadati, but I know, Gam also, I. I. So this is something like, but I also know, or indeed I know, or but I myself know. Shemikreh made that race look weird. So the she, this is the relative pronoun. So this is some evidence from the study of Hebrew we call diachrony. It's not just about Hebrew, it applies to other ancient languages as well. That this is not Torah Hebrew. It's later than that. It's from a later date because we have the she. The she of power. A sheen prefix to a word represents a shell. asher, the relative pronoun, who or which, not the not that which, the which which. וידעתי גם אני, for I indeed know she, that mikre. So mikre, it's from the root kara. Now, kara, kof resh hey, not kof resh aleph, means to happen, right? Happen. And I've told you guys if you put a mem in front of a verbal root, often that will help you understand what it's saying, right? So, and if it's like something that the verb accomplishes or it helps the verb do its thing. So if kara is to happen, then a mikre is a happening, right? Like a happening or sometimes like happenstance. Now this word is used many times in Qoheleth, more than 10, more than 10 times in Qoheleth. In this case, yikreh is like something kind of like fate. See how we can do this. It's like fate, but it's like a soft fate. Not sure really how to capture that. Like, it's not fate so much in the idea that, well, what am I trying to say? Like God is pulling all the strings or something like that, right? Well, maybe I'll leave it hanging until we get to the end of the verse. So maybe you'll be able to figure it out before I just spill it all to you. Echad, echad. You know echad, one. That mikre chad, that one fate, yikreh, yikreh. So this is the verb I was telling you that this is from. Now you see the yod in front of the verb? What does that tell us in an imperfect verb? Yod tells us it's he, human, he. He will correct. Who's the he? Well, the he is basically the subject of this is that guy, mikre. So shemikreh, that one fate, sorry, echad, that a fate, echad. So by the way, here is our noun, here is our adjective. What kind of fate? Echad. That one fate, yikreh, will happen, will occur. I mean, will fate, if you could say it that way, will happen. Et, this is the direct object marker. Whom will it happen to? Kulam, kulam. So kul, it's from kol, meaning all or everyone. So it's like them or they. One fate will happen to them all. Now, remember I said it was fate light, kind of like fate light. So what I mean by that, it's, and I learned this from that it's fate light, because to me, when I see it, I think more like in Torah terms, it's more like an occurrence, right? Or a happenstance or something like this. But thank you to the Jewish scholar, Mordechai Kogan. He points out that it's the one fate that everybody has. It's the inescapable fate. Qoheleth is talking about, I'm giving you a chance to say it before I say it, death. Why? I thought I had a laser pointer, sorry. So much for dramatic. Yikreh et kulam. What? Okay. וידעתי גם I myself indeed know that מקרה אחד, one fate, יקרה will happen et kulam, with everybody, with them all. It sounds better in Hebrew, doesn't it? Because listen, shemikreh echad yikreh. So that's what I was trying to do with the English, but it just doesn't work. For one fate will fate them, or be fated to them all. One ring to rule them all. All right. Take a look at that for a second. I'm about to change slides. Yay, I spelled participle right. I decided to check on the prophet Google, peace be upon him. And I owe that saying to Christian Prince, the Arab Christian defender of the faith against the religion of Shalom. If you like to learn all the dirty secrets about the religion of Shalom, check out Christian Prince. But you might want to have your headphones on if kids are around. He doesn't hold back any punches, but I think the men will definitely appreciate it. Some fun listening there. But don't let it distract your Hebrew learning. Much more important, your Hebrew learning. But it's also good to be ready always with an answer that is within us. Everyone should realize what a deception that false religion is. Okay. I have to think that the devil has a sense of irony to call it the religion of shalom. All right. And no, the name of the religion does not mean surrender. I mean, it does not mean submission. It means surrender. That's something I learned from Christian Prince. It means surrender. Surrender. Surrender or die is the famous saying. Okay. Continuing on. Verse 15. As we continue in our directed Hebrew immersion Qoheleth study, please, if you're enjoying these classes, consider supporting what we do here. We do survive this way. This is a ministry that's an outgrowth from Congregation Simchat Hashem in the Philippines. And we really appreciate all of our Hebrew learners. Verse 15. This is Qoheleth chapter 2, verse 15. Ve'amrti ani. It's kind of interesting Qoheleth style. He's doing it again. So, amar, is to say, or it can mean to eyeball, but more commonly to say. And the T at the end means I. But then ani also means I. Hence, I indeed said, or I said myself, ve'amarti. So I said, I'm going to say so. So, amarti, I said, ani, I. Belibi, belibi, in the levav of E. In my levav, in my heart, in my mind. Coloring in the inseparable preposition bait with our yantar. That's how I have it marked, our amber color. ואמרתי, ani, בלבי. So I said, myself in my heart. שמקרה, hakhsil. גם אני. כ, inseparable preposition, like. And then we have a construct chain. Interesting. I selected aqua and I got that pretty neon color. We'll just have a little bit of both. Sometimes I get a little legalistic about the colors. Ha, the. So we have a construct chain. When the last word in the chain is definite, here it is because it has the definite article, the full. We're going to carry that the to the whole chain. Like, ha, the yikreh, the fate of hakhsil, the fool. Gam, also, ani, I, also me. Yikreini, yikreini. Now this is a lamed hey verb. The root is kof, resh, and hey. But the hay has mysteriously gone away. Oh, I just thought of a cool way to write. Let's do it like this. It's hiding out in there like some of those older style Hebrew Sidur's prayer books where they have the tetragrammaton and then it says like Adonai under the hay. So the verb is kara, to happen, right? To fate. And we have a yod at the front. That tells us it's he. He. I'm just going to keep it as he. Of course, the fate is an it. He. It will happen. Ni. Ni. Where the nights are shine. Ni. Me. This is a dative ni. Or it might even be considered accusative. Me. So, shemikreh hakhsil. Just like the fate of the fool, gamani also indeed. It's really I, but I'm making it the emphatic color. Also, literally, also I, yikreini, it will happen to me. So indeed, it will happen to me. Of course, he's talking about death. Doesn't matter how wise we are. The Grim Reaper is coming. Everybody understand this? Yikreini. The yod is he, will happen. It's an imperfect. So it will happen ni to me. Velama. Chachamti ani. Velama. So. So. Lama. Why? Why? Literally, this word is formed by inseparable preposition lamed joined with the me or ma interrogative. So for what? For what? For what purpose? Oh, for the Russian speakers, it's nice. It's like zachем. It's not just что, but it's zachem. For what purpose? For why? Sorry, I just dropped something. Chachamti ani. Chacham is the verb, and then the T at the end. That's I. Chacham is to be wise. So why did I become wise? Or why am I wise? Why indeed did I become wise? Why did I chacham? Why did I chacham? I. Why did I chacham? I. Oh, sorry, I was having trouble with PowerPoint. Tricked it to working. Why did I become wise? I. Oz. Then. Then. Yotel. Yotel. Yoter is from the verbal root yod tav resh. This is where one of Moses's fathers-in-law's name comes from, Jethro, Yithro, right? It's like his Yeter. So the verb yata or yatha means to be extra, or in some cases, like to be the best. That's obviously what Jethro's mother had in mind when she named him, not extra. I got all these babies already. Oh, here's an extra just in case something happens. You got to think when you're trying to understand people's names in Hebrew, like the people who insist that Yaakov means usurper. Yaakov Avinu, it's usurper, or come on, you really think his parents would have named him usurper? You got to think about these things. It's just anti-Semitism that came in from the later Edomite dialect from Esau. Yaakov is explained to us from the same root, Aikiv, a heel. She called him Yaakov because he grabbed his brother's heel. He healed him, not healed like made better, but grabbed his heel. If we had that verb in English, to heal someone, to grab their heel. None of this sinister usurper, trickster. Sorry, as much as I love Jordan Peterson, I wish he'd learn some Hebrew, or at least read some of the Jewish commentaries. So, yotel is like extra or more. So the idea of being like too much, like more than needed. So from the verbal root, yatal, the excess, more, remain. No, the excess economy, whatever. Okay. And you can see how it was formed. It was formed following the same rules of a participle, although eventually it just became a word. But you see on the previous slide I showed you guys, the rule for particle formation, participle formation, particle. It's talking about atoms. So we had the cholam, the o, and the tsere here, oftentimes expressed as a cholam vav, a full cholam, and tsere. So look what's happening over here. You can see sometimes how words were formed, that they came from a participle form. Right? That which is extra. So like too much. Too much. Yoter. Vedibarti. And dibarti, the T meaning I. So the indexers might want to focus in on that, where I talk about T if you didn't, but you don't have to go back and do it again. Just, it might be interesting to have some time codes, timestamps for that. I'm hoping to eventually have a complete video grammar guide, and we can kind of pull out all the places and examples that talk about certain grammar. So when you look up the grammar, you'll be able to see, right? I. Diber, you know, diber. If you forgot this word, well, it's related to the word davar, which is word, the word meaning word. Diber is to speak. So dibarti, I spoke, or I said, vedibarti, so I spoke, and I spoke, or so I spoke, velibi, and it's ve instead of be. There's no dagesh in the middle because it's closely preceded by the e sound here. If you want to know the real technicalities, that's what the munach is hinting about over here, that this word is read closely to the next one. So I said, be, inseparable preposition, bait, in, libi, the heart of e, my. And again, folks, I can't stress it enough. Just want to remind you that the word lev and its other form levav, well, this means, it is true, it means heart, but mind. Well, what happened? What happened? What happened? So sorry about that. Mind. Levav or leb is mind. So the very famous mitzvah, you shall love the Lord your God with all your levav, bechol levavcha, with all of your levav, with all your mind. So when Yeshua says the most important commandment is to love him, it's not as, it doesn't really mean what many of our Gentile brothers and sisters who believe in the God of Israel say it means. They're thinking it's with emotion. The emotion follows, but the command is to love him with our mind. This is why we study Torah. This is why we study biblical Hebrew. This is why we learn these things. This is a function of loving him with our minds, as is understanding the commandments and such. We want to intimately know him, and we can do so by learning his word. Velibi, with my mind. Shegam ze havel. So we have the sheen again. Again, an example of this is late biblical Hebrew, which makes sense if the person we think wrote it wrote it. Although there are a lot of funky Phoenicianisms. Well, that's more in Mishlei. She, the she reminds us of Asher. She, gam, also ze, this. And then we have to say is in English to make it make sense. Havel, which is, of course, the word hevel. A vapor. Oops. A vapor. A nothing. A fleeting moment. Any comments or questions? Let's look at it again and we'll finish. ואמרתי, אני בלבי. So I myself said in my mind, or I indeed said in my mind, שמקרה hakhsil, גם אני, like the fate of the fool. Also, I, or indeed I myself, yikreini, from yikreh, ni, yikreini, shall happen to me. And the word for happen being same root as the word for fate that's used here. Velama chachamti ani oz yoter. So, why? Zachem, for what purpose? Chachamti ani oz yoter. Have I become exceedingly wise then? Like too wise. Vedibarti. Or what advantage is there? And I spoke velibi in my mind, shegam ze havel, that this also is vapor. Traditionally translated vanity, but I think oftentimes people don't really get what's being expressed by vanity there. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the teaching tonight. Make sure to check in with us on Shabbat. We'll have the ancient triennial Torah cycle working through the book of Numbers. And we have a decent amount of Hebrew immersion in there, although it's more of a drash, more of a sermony kind of thing. Usually the lesson is between an hour and a half to 2 hours, 15 minutes. I try to keep it under 2 hours. Doesn't always happen. And sometimes we look at the ancient triennial Haftarah. I think you'll enjoy it. So if you're watching this video later, then please leave me a comment below. Let me know if you learned anything or what you enjoyed about it or any epiphanies you had. That's really nice to see those things, and it kind of gives me the emotional juice. If I didn't respond to a comment you left, probably it's a comment to a comment. So you wrote something, then I wrote something, then I didn't see it. it's real hard for me to follow up on those. It's better to join us if you have that kind of stuff over in the Telegram app on t.me/Hebrew literacy. That's t.me/Hebrew literacy. Wishing you guys a blessed day. Shalom, shalom.